the last damn $10 that I have on a coffee when I already have one. So I just talked to 2 of the people that can do the booths for the weekend where I can go sell stuff. One of them was $120 for the weekend. The other was $67 for the weekend. But there's no power, no electricity, no water, no tarps or any kind of fencing to keep your property there like overnight. Apparently rent these booths to do, like, if you want to go sell personal property, if you want to go sell furniture, if you want to go buy and resell things, it starts off at $65 and goes up $67. And so yeah, that's not a viable option for me at this time because I don't have the money. So anyways, if I don't have the money to eat, I definitely have the money to drop $67 today. And it's not just $67. It would be $67 for the booth, at least $6 for gas because the cities are far apart. I'm talking about the flea market. And this is, well, I don't want to say where it is because I'm scared that people will hunt me down if I do end up coming up with the money. But here is some of their pricing. Hold on one second. So booths start at $59, and those are all of the extra fees that are included. Thank you, Kim. The other one was $120. So I know that the modern misconception is that I can just go buy a booth and sell some things, but unfortunately I would have to have over $120 to do so, and that is not including gas. So the gas to go get my property, the gas to get to the facility, gas to get my property back, gas to go get my property and put it back in there, gas to get back to the facility to sell things. Like, you see what I'm saying? You have to take everything out of there overnight if you're gonna, and here's the thing, you can't just do it for one day. You have to buy the whole weekend. So you're gonna be getting access Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to your unit, and it's like it's just outside and you can sell stuff. It's a flea market. So you have to remove that stuff at night or there's a chance it can get stole unless you're going to be there around the clock. Now, they do have certain hours. Me personally, I have huge trust issues. I'm not leaving everything that I have left after my life savings was stole, hundreds of thousands of dollars, my home, land, vehicles, all of that was stolen from me, and I can't leave what I have left laying out for God knows what to happen to it. So absolutely, I will have to get everything out of there and take it elsewhere. And I can't have it on the back of my truck because it'll get stolen in the middle of the night. Everything gets stole off the back of my truck. If I leave something back there, it gets stole. So it's $120 for one place. However, there is no tables, power, or any of that. So you have to pay for all of that. This place it says $59, but when I talked to her on the phone, she said $67. So, well, it does say an $8 facility fee per win. And it's heated and air conditioned building, but if you want to be in the building, you have to pay extra. So there's all of these hidden fees with this. If I somehow came up with the money, I would do it, but I don't have the money, so I'm not doing it. The lady on the phone was super nice from one of the flea markets. She was more than helpful, and she was really friendly. Like, I felt really comfortable. I would feel comfortable over there and selling stuff. I went to take a drug test for another job, which is why I'm late. Sorry, I'm not that late, but it was still causing me to be late. There's also a car accident down the road that me up as I was trying to come down the road. Why does it always look rough at first and then it looks great the next day? My bangs are doing something funny. And then I got this email from a job that I did way back when, and it was from an employee that works at the company that I interviewed with, but they sent it through a different email that didn't have their name on it or their name on it. They just said that they worked for the company that I interviewed at in South Carolina back in this year in the beginning of the spring. I can't even remember when we went. Anyways, the email said that the employer that interviewed me sent me for a drug test just to see what the results were. That the employer was not interested in hiring me, but they used company funds to send me to go do a drug test just to see if I failed or passed. Out here trying to get a job. And people are so stupid, they can't recognize the difference between trauma and drug use. And then they tell me that they're going to hire me with intent of just seeing if I pass. How pathetic is that? I'm grateful to whoever this person is. Thank you for telling me. You know, what can I do about it? Nothing. You know, one thing I will say is in the email, the guy says, I'm assuming it's a guy, person says that after they received the results from my drug test, they told everybody in the office. So isn't that a HIPAA violation? I mean, those are medical records. You sent me to LabCorp. I don't know, you guys. It's just, I'm grateful to the person that told me. But I'm not surprised because that's been my experience with dealing with society nowadays. So there's been a lot going on today. Y'all know the debate last night. You know, honestly, I was surprised by Kamala Harris. I've never heard her speak remotely sensible. So hearing her actually mimic Donald Trump's plans is kind of humorous. But also, where has that person been at for the past 4 years? That Kamala. Where's she been at for the past 4 years? It's genuinely the only time that I think I've ever heard her speak and that she actually makes sense. But the only reason she made sense is because she took a blueprint from Donald Trump. She stole his whole campaign. She stole it. Anybody that believes a word that she said is naive. And I'm being kind. Let me get my other phone up. I guess what we can start with, I had notes that I can't find. I guess what we can start with is the animals. So for those that don't know, last night during the debate, Donald Trump came out and made allegations that dogs and cats, birds and ducks were being eaten by the Haitian community of immigrants that have immigrated here from Haiti. I hope I'm saying that right. Here's the thing. That is one of those things where unless you catch somebody in action with an actual duck's head off, society is going to say, well, especially the left, is going to say that it didn't happen. However, it is in fact very normal for Haitian people to eat animals, okay? And I'm talking about cats, dogs, birds, ducks. This is very common in their country. Not only that, unrelated to these accusations coming out of Springfield, Ohio, I hope that's right. Outside of that, there was recently a woman that was busted on body surveillance cop camera eating a cat in a driveway. Now, I don't know if this woman's Haitian, but the law was called, and when the law showed up, there was a woman in the driveway with a dead cat eating it raw. Unrelated, I just want to say though, mental health is a huge problem in this country. Mental issues and the lack of support for citizens who are having severe mental issues. This is hilarious. After Donald Trump mentioned at the debate, hold on, please vote for Trump so Haitian immigrants don't eat us. So after, as you can see, this was after the debate, 24 million views. What does that say? You left Snowflake at home when you went to Cancun? Anyways, who is this from? Ted Cruz. So they're overmaking jokes about this now. However, the citizens of Springfield say that this is an issue. They're saying that there's animals missing, that Haitians are hunting down wildlife and pets, as food. There was a woman that said that her cat was found dead hanging from a tree behind her neighbor's house, and they're alleging that it was killed by a Haitian. Now, here's the thing. These animals do migrate. I don't know what the migration plan is, you know what I mean? But the community is alleging that there are tons of ducks, geese. Geese, let me just mention, geese apparently is a delicacy in some places. I did not know that. I would never eat a geese. They're filthy. But a goose, there we go. I would never eat a goose, but apparently there are reports that Haitians are hunting geese at parks for food until the police showed up and had to tell them to stop. There was another man, I posted a video of it. He went into his city council meeting and he told them that there was Haitians out there ripping the heads off of ducks. You know, if it was one or two allegations, I would be like, oh, okay, that's probably crazy and not true. But when you have mass quantities of people saying that they see these people out here hunting, which is not hunting, these are protected wildlife, by the way, some of which aren't geese an endangered species? I don't know, probably not. But you know what I mean. They're protected wildlife. Like, it doesn't give you the right to come here and kill them for me. So, of course, I go to Reddit. And some guy said, in places where this thing is sort of common, stray pets aren't consumed or sold as dog meat or cat meat. It's typically passed off as ground pork or something along those lines and sold to unscrupulous restaurants where it's used for cheap meat filler, mystery meat, and fed to unwilling customers. They're talking about cats and dogs, how it's sold. So another Redditor said, Haiti and Caribbean people, hold on. That's another thing I was thinking about. Don't they do witchcraft? Hold on. Hold that thought. Voodoo. Yes, many Haitians do, a religion that is often practiced alongside Catholicism. I don't know about that. 95% of Haitians who practice voodoo, hold on, estimates of the percentage of Haitians who practice voodoo range from 50 to 95%. So are some of these ducks and wildlife being taken and used? I don't know. But that is a possibility. That is a definite possibility. This is what's crazy to me. It says most Haitians practice both voodoo and Roman Catholicism, seeing no contradiction in pursuing the two different systems simultaneously. That's crazy to me. Whatever. Believe what you want, boo-boo. Just stop killing our wildlife. I don't know if they're using them as sacrifices, y'all, but also geese are a delicacy and are much more expensive than chicken or duck in certain places where they're commonly eaten. So finding some wild geese might be especially tempting. I know that in areas outside of New York City, it's not unheard of for immigrants to poach white-tailed deer off-season, presumably to either eat or likely sell on the black market direct. A buddy of mine growing up had a problem with deer poaching on his family's property. They eventually busted the poachers with a trailer full of illegal frozen deer. Illegally frozen deer. So somebody said, Jesus, it's all, hold on. Oh God, no. Somebody said, I do believe the goose story is true. Geese are common food source in many countries. I didn't even realize Canadian geese were a protected species. So I was right. I was right. Apparently in Canada. But still, I wonder, you know, yeah. Let's see. It's literally the person who was found to be hunting them in the park didn't know either. So that is an actual account that did happen. The cops did show up and talk to a group of Haitians and told them that they could not kill, take, or eat the ducks and geese. That actually happened. So why would that actually happen? Someone called the cops and said, hey, there's these Haitians over here hunting our wildlife out of the park. Yeah. So on Reddit, some people are saying that this is true. Some people are saying that it's not true. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's true due to the fact that our president, or soon-to-be president, stood up there and talked about it. Whether or not, you know what kills me is apparently these immigrants are getting thousands of dollars in food stamps here. I know this because there was a woman that went on the news. There's a news report of it. She said that she tries not to be nosy, but she cannot help but to notice when she is checking people out in the grocery store what their remaining balance is on their EBT food stamp card. For those that don't know, when you use an EBT food stamp card, it has your total at the bottom of the receipt next to your remaining balance. She said that immigrants are coming in, using their cards, buying $100 worth of groceries, and she thinks that the card is going to be out when she sees the receipt. But then she looks down and sees thousands of dollars still left on the card. So they are getting thousands of dollars and still choosing to go kill animals. Now, I don't know if it has anything to do with religion, but I do know, and I did know, that voodoo is a huge part of Haitian culture. Huge. So whether or not it happened, it's wrong to even, it's wrong. Whether or not it happened, if they're out here doing it, it's wrong. It's not right. They have more than eat on more money than I do, and I'm an American citizen. Which, by the way, here's my thing. What the world? Well, I had a Cash App paper. I don't know where it went. So the Wi-Fi just popped up and told me to sign in, but then it wouldn't let me on it. It's really getting on my nerves, that one part of my hair. I don't know where the heck it went. I'll find it in the weirdest of places. So apparently there was a illegal immigrant that was busted in Martha's Vineyard yesterday. We're going to talk about money sign. I always forget. Apparently, like most suspects that we talk about on here, he had already been deported 3 times. How is it that these assholes are able to slip through the cracks like this and keep coming back? It's the same stuff, different day. Do I have Venmo on here? So it says illegal immigrant convicted of a violent assault on Martha's Vineyard got released then allegedly raped a child, despite ICE requesting 3 times to detain him. And he was already, we're going to talk about it. Let me just get this up, and I'm trying to find, why ain't it going down? Let me read the article. I don't understand. I might have to back out and go back in. It's not letting me view the article. My computer is completely frozen. There we go. An illegal immigrant convicted of a violent assault on Martha's Vineyard back in Massachusetts was released and then went on to allegedly rape a child just months later. ICE's enforcement and removal operations, the ERO in Boston, said that they had to ask to take custody of the Brazilian national Worley Neto, 24. Why is it always these young guys? I mean, the past 15 cases we've seen, they've been under 25 committing these kinds of crimes. That is very scary. Shoot. Very, very scary. It says 2 of the towns that were involved in the case. There we go. Then you can't even see it. There we go. 2 of the towns that were involved in the case, Edgartown and Tisbury, have declared themselves sanctuary cities. Neto was taken into custody by the feds in the upmarked liberal enclave of Edgartown on August 23rd after he was indicted on 5 counts of raping a Massachusetts minor and 5 counts of enticing a minor under 16 this year. I forgot to cut the comments off. Let's see. Brazilian national Worley Net was taken into custody at the Martha's Vineyard on the 23rd of August after he assaulted. Why did it take so long? I know that they're understaffed, but come on, man. There comes a point where it's their own fault. Hire some officers. Stop. Please hire some cops. It says Neto had illegally crossed into the U.S. border. He illegally crossed near El Paso del Norte, Texas in March of 2018, but he was released after being served with a notice to appear before an immigration judge. Same thing, same story, different day. He popped back up on ICE's radar in February last year after he was arrested by local cops in Martha's Vineyard on a slew of charges, including strangulation, assault, battery on a family or household member, and threat to commit a crime. This was the first time the ERO had asked to detain him. Neto was found guilty on the charges in June of 23 and sentenced to a year in prison, but was freed after the Edgartown District Court suspended all but 90 days of the sentence. This country is so screwed. Just months later, in January of this year, Neto was rearrested and indicted in Dukes County Superior Court on the charges of rape. Details on the attacks carried out, including who he targeted, when, and where, weren't immediately available. And they're still not, because y'all know I went to look, and you can't find nothing on this guy now. The ERO again asked local cops to take custody of him. However, he was booked into the Dukes County Jail in the wake of his January arrest on the rape charges. He was finally transferred into ICE's custody after enforcement removal operations. Boston logged its 3rd immigration detainer against him last month. So they were trying to hold him and nobody was working together. And this is why Project 2025 wants to bring all of these departments together. The Dukes County Sheriff's Office Major Greg Arpin told the Post that while their office doesn't hold migrants on ICE detainers beyond Now, the director of the removal operations Boston field office said that Worley Nato allegedly repeatedly assaulted a Massachusetts child and represents a significant threat to the safety of our neighborhoods. They don't know how he got over the border. They don't know when. I was wrong. He was not deported 3 times. They tried to detain 3 times and was not allowed to do so. We've got to stop. Why? If he is illegal, he needs to be held in a jail. Period. This whole, oh, we don't hold ICE. Bull crap. Stop. Like, this is how it got this bad. For legal reasons, they can't. It's not reasons. It's money reasons. So it said, so on September 6th, George Luis Castro Alvarado, 28, was arrested by the ERO after he was charged with rape in Lynn, Massachusetts on August 1st. ERO had previously logged a detainer against Castro Alvarado on February 9th after he was arrested for a separate charge of assault and battery on a family member or household member. Castro Alvarado, who entered the U.S. at an unknown location, was convicted by the Lynn District Court and sentenced to 18 months in prison, but had his sentence shortened. Same shit, different day. He was then arraigned in April for 2 counts of rape and indecent assault and battery on a person over 14 years of age, but cut loose despite the ERO detainer before he was finally picked up months later in September. And Corey Alvarez, a 26-year-old from Haiti, was arrested in August on charges of raping a child in Massachusetts. The ERO had a detainer logged against him, but he was released on a low bail in March after he was accused of raping a 15-year-old girl. So do y'all see what's happening? These people are committing crimes. They're getting sentenced. Their sentences are lessened. They're getting out, and the entire time, that sheriff's department was supposed to have a detainer on that inmate, and that inmate was never supposed to leave that facility unless they were in handcuffs by ICE or the ERO. You know what I mean? So it's just these departments are not working together. And that is exactly how these immigrants are able to slip through the cracks and continue to commit these crimes and continue time and time again to not have any consequences for their actions. I mean, are literally the laughingstock of the world because of it. Other countries are like, look at them. They used to be the most organized, well-respected community, and look at them now. Yeah. So I want to talk about Alice. Start with Alice. So if you didn't see the clips that I posted this morning, this is who Alice is. She was the highest paid sex worker in the world. And here's the thing, you guys. There's multiple specials on this girl that you can go find at the Bunny Ranch. She worked at like the Bunny Ranch or whatever. Apparently, not only has she cut her hair off, but she quit her job to go be a goat farmer. And she made millions. Now, I've seen multiple documentaries on her. It's very interesting to me how now that she's, looking like a woman, she's 31, so now she looks like a woman. Now she decides to get out of it. She made millions off of the fact that she looks like a child. There's no denying that. Her whole career at the Bunny Ranch longed because she was so tiny. She has the build of like a 12-year-old child. How sick. How sick that these men were going out there and seeing her for 10 years. So she got into this super young. One thing that I really noticed during her interviews is that she does not talk like a normal person. For those that don't know, a lot of women that are sexually abused as children, their voices never develop. They stay childlike for forever because of the trauma. They never develop in certain areas. So you see a lot of women that talk like this that were actually victims of sex crimes. It's very common. You stay stuck at the age that you were molested at. Your voice does. So there needs to be more research. It's a very interesting thing. Anytime I've ever met a woman that had a very meek voice, I asked them if they were sexually assaulted, and they say, yeah, when I was 12, yeah, when I was 13. So it's very, very common. Alice is one of those people that had a childlike demeanor and voice, and she made millions off of it. They even refer to her in this article as childlike. The pint-sized redhead tried to sue the state's governor, Steve Sisolak, Sisolak, in December 2020 to make paying for sex possible without the use of rapid tests, but the lawsuit was later tossed out. Hold on, wait a second. Alice then she spent time reevaluating what she wanted to do with her life and savings, and deciding to pack up and move to Boulder, Colorado, where she plunked down cash on a 0.8-acre piece of land. Alice took her beloved horse, cats, dogs, mini pigs, blah, 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 blah. She does not have any children. She only has pets. So apparently she left the bunny ranch, and I don't know if it was the bunny ranch that she worked for. Here, I can tell you. So Little has been a legal sex worker since 2015 when she started to work at the Sagebrush Ranch and moved on to the Moonlight Bunny Ranch in October of 2017. Y'all want to hear something crazy? My abuser coerced me into applying to these places, the Bunny Ranch and another one. And it was a huge argument for years because he wanted me to go prostitute at the Bunny Ranch, and I did not want to. Ultimately, I would go back to dancing instead because, once again, I was a workhorse. So it is what it is. A lot of people don't understand how that happens, but that's why I have a chance to tell you guys. She said that she couldn't get out and about or do much of anything because of the pandemic. My job was closed down, so I put my apartment on hold with all of my animals and ended up out in the middle of Colorado. I was working full-time for 5 years before the pandemic shut down, transitioned to online sex work. She says she has an OnlyFans. Now, Alice likes to say that she loves, intimacy, education, and blah, 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 and she likes to have all these new experiences. I'm going to call bull on that. Unless you're a complete narcissist with no conscience, no soul, there is no way that any woman actually loves to treat themselves like this. Now, I'm sure that there are women out there that, like I said, that lack certain things and they are capable of behaving that way. I meet them all the time. But what I'm saying is that people with a conscience and a soul and the knowledge of God are not going to be out here behaving like this and supporting this type of thing. It says that she sued somebody. She was trying to sue the state so that they would legalize sex work with the possibility of rapid use tests. Like, disgusting to think. Why would you need a rapid use test? Because you done fuck so many people. Like, it's disgusting. I would love to sit down and interview this girl. I want to know the first time she was sexually assaulted, because it's very clear to me that her upbringing led to her going to sex work. Normal girls do not leave mom and daddy's house and go to a strip club. normal, women who have been harmed, absolutely they do. Women who have been sexually assaulted by family members, absolutely they do. But normal girls who have not been through the trauma don't look to jump into things like this. They know better. They've been taught better. It's typically girls who are not taught anything. Girls that come from impoverished, abusive backgrounds that land in sex work. We know that, statistically speaking. It's just crazy to me. Like, and here's the thing. Everybody's like, oh, da, 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 da. Look at this. This is the sex industry, honey. It's not what you think it is. Look at her. Pretty girls don't make money in sex work. Not many. Not in the clubs. That's for damn sure. It's almost like you have to be, you had to have hit every damn branch on the ugly tree on the way down in order to get hired at a strip club nowadays. They're just not up to par with where they should be. Her career in the adult industry began when she started working at the front desk at a BDSM dungeon at 18. Alice is now a 3-time Companion of the Year award winner, a title given to the highest earning legal sex worker in the state. She says that she's very lucky to have a family that did not have a lot of inherent sex stigma or shame around those type of concepts. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm glad that she got out of it, but one can only assume because she aged out. I mean, it wasn't like she was a beautiful girl to start with. I mean, when I saw the documentaries, I was just like, how? Like, how? But to each their own. And I'm telling you how she made millions. It's because there are a lot of perverted men out here that are sexually attracted to children. And they flew just to spend money on her because she looked like a child. And then when she's 25, she no longer looks like a child. When she's 31, she no longer looks like a child. And she also said that the internet took over and made it impossible to make money at the Bunny Ranch after, because everything switched to the internet. I just don't agree with it. I think that she's had a negative impact on women. And I think that her career in sex work, I hope that she comes to terms with what she's done to herself one day. It's not a healthy environment. Any line of sex work is not a healthy environment. The psychological effects of prostitution are some of the most harmful effects that you can have. Post-traumatic stress disorder in particular is characterized by anxiety, depression, and insomnia, irritability, flashbacks, emotional numbing, and hyper-alertness. Wow, I have all of those. Symptoms are more severe and long-lasting when the stressor is of human design. PTSD is normative among prostitutes, especially women. The report found that PTSD prevalence rate is 68% among those in prostitution in 9 countries. 68, that is 9 countries. That's not some small survey where they asked all of the Western women. Okay, that is, wow, unbelievable. 68% have PTSD from being prostitutes. The rate was comparable to the rates of PTSD among battered women seeking shelter, rape survivors, and survivors of sponsored torture. So that's where I fall in. It's just crazy. Here's a prostitute that came forward on December 8th, my birthday, of 2016, and she said, "I did not think of my prostitution as traumatic. It left me with PTSD. It took me a long time to fully understand my symptoms, the irritability, the anger, the fear, the strange existential sense that I had no that I no longer had any purpose. Not all women in prostitution will suffer from PTSD, but many of us do. Even in the most conservative findings, prostitutes are shown to be significantly more likely to suffer from PTSD than the general population. For us, it is the site of our suffering and the cause of our pain. Only by confronting that have I begun to heal. Depression as a result of a change So it says depression as a result of change of identity. Pimps create a rapid emotional dependency for the prostitute by changing the prostitute's name as a means of removing her from her identity and past. Studies have shown that this could lead to bothersome symptoms and depression in the prostitute, suicidal ideation as a result of violent and social invisibility, low self-esteem as a result, pronounced perception of the prostitute as an object who supplies a financial income for a pimp. A prostitute is perceived as body parts, a commodity for sexual pleasure. Their feelings and emotions are irrelevant. Self-hate as a result of the pimp breaking the prostitute's psyche and spirit. What did I tell you guys? What did I tell you guys? This is so, I get so happy when I find these studies in print. Pimps often use psychological power and brainwashing to break the prostitute's psyche and spirit. Other means of ownership used by pimps are specific symbol tattoos. I've seen so many girls that are branded by their pimps. Disassociation. This is a consequence of both sexual abuse in childhood as well as sexual violence experience in adult prostitution. In order to survive each exploitation and harsh violence, the woman learns to disassociate from the body and mind. She tries to protect herself from her bodily scars. Subsequently, as a result of each psychological harm, these women fall victim to depressive disorders, anxiety, and are continuously hypervigilant. I'm getting so frustrated. Let me see if I can wrap this around here and stick it down in the cup. Perfect. Look at that. Ain't she smart? All right. So psychologically speaking, we know that it is not good on women's development, brain, all of that, for them to be out here selling their bodies in the streets and Mike to be a victim of kidnapping and held hostage for 20 years almost. Feels hot. I'm looking for my notes. So speaking of search, we're going to continue right on theme. Apparently there's a woman named Brittany D. Lamora, and I found out about her through YouTube. I found her channel by accident, and apparently this woman was a top performing porn star, top earning porn star, right on with Alice, top of her class, making more money than most people could ever dream of, and she walked away from it. Now she is a American minister. She was a pornographic film actress who performed under the name Jenna Presley. So having found the love of ministry alongside her husband, her now husband, she has subsequently become an outspoken critic of pornography. During her time in the adult film industry, Presley used crystal meth, heroin, and cocaine to try to lose weight, as well as ecstasy and Oxycontin. She witnessed her boyfriend being fatally stabbed by a motorcycle gang. Well, they're dangerous. Nobody wants to listen. After 3 years in the industry, her grandparents took her to the Rock Church in San Diego, where she raised her hand to receive Jesus' name as her personal Savior and Lord, as her Lord Savior. After hearing a sermon by preacher Mills McPherson, further inspired by Rachel Collins, a Christian pastor at XXX Church, she left the film industry in December of 2012 after completed her last scene in Las Vegas. In a 2013 interview, just a book in the making about her past struggles with the drugs in the industry and about her newfound faith in Christianity. She appeared on The View. Probably not the smartest thing she's done. Oh, and she's appeared on other Christian church stations. Now, she said that she had hundreds of pornographic videos and that left the industry realizing that it was the devil's work, that lust was one of the sins. And she talks about how men need to stay away from pornography and how women need to stay out of it. So she's a huge advocate fighting against pornography. Now, they do have a ministry. It's called Love Always Ministries. It's a nonprofit that help people walk in their calling by discovering God's love and by living a victorious life. So she shared recently that lust does not have a hold over her like it used to in the past. Even though she did hundreds of adult scenes when she was a porn star, she does not dwell on those things now. Quote, if I wanted to think about it, I would have to sit and really choose to think about it. I don't think like that anymore because the Lord healed my soul, and when he did, he restored the innocence and purity of my mind. I want to teach you I was able to conquer those thoughts because I do believe in having a pure mind. God is a God who will restore your mind. He will restore your mind to innocence and purity when we give our lives to him and we surrender to him. When Brittany first started attending church, she fell so in love with the Lord and the presence of God that she wanted to experience him even while she was at home. So she started worshiping God every day before going to work. First, she'd put on a praise song and worship to it. Then she would pray and read her Bible. These are similar things that I do. I start a lot of mornings with Kurt Franklin. A lot. When I would start to read the Bible, it would give me God's thoughts for my life and about myself, about my situation. So all of a sudden, my brain was just being rewired, and that's imperative. You know what's crazy? Just like the other day when I Bible and I thought that I was looking for material on siblings, but I stumbled across the story of Job. And God wanted me to see that. I know without a doubt that God wanted me to see that. Just like Job, I've lost everything. Just like Job, I'm being persecuted for things that I did not do. Just like Job, I've had my whole life torn apart. All of my family members are dead. I don't have anyone to trust. And just like Job, I've had nothing but fake friends in my life since I was born. And, finding that story that day, God wanted me to read that. That was God's way of telling me that everything's going to be fine if I just continue to do what I need to do. People like this don't get enough credit whatsoever. A woman should get all the credit in the world. It's one thing to have money and unlimited access to drugs. It's a whole nother thing to walk away from that willingly to save yourself and to help others, which she's doing. And once again, her name is Brittany De La Mora. It's impossible to cast down thoughts without spending time with the Lord. I would encourage people to pray to God for wisdom, regardless what their thoughts are from God, them Satan. It is essential to spend regular time reading the Bible in order to know a thought is from God or not. If there is a thought that someone does not have peace about, it is not backed up by the Bible. Cast it down. So what does it mean to cast it down? Brittany said that when she would have a lustful thought, she would look away from the person attracting her attention, and I would say, I rebuke that thought in the name of the Lord. I'm not going to think like that anymore. And it says that you need to follow Philippians 4:8, which says to think about, quote, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, excellent, or praiseworthy. So crazy, because she says, in my head, I would say, thank you, God, that you have renewed my mind. Thank you, God, for the freedom. Thank you, God, for the authority and victory of the enemy. Thank you, God, that you have saved my life. Thank you, God, that I'm not in the porn industry. Thank you, God, that you got me off of drugs. And thank you, God, that you are healing my soul and you are restoring my life. You know, it's crazy to think that maybe I would have been able to escape my abuser if one of the 50,000 cops would have tried to help me instead of carrying me back to a man, clearly a sex trafficker. It only took, 10 months of being, 11 months of being away from this person for me to be able to completely assess what I went through. It's not rocket science. I know my heart better than anybody. So it says some choose to sell sex. It's far more common for people to do it to survive because they've been tricked, coerced, or forced to by sex traffickers who target vulnerable people. This includes those without strong support networks, facing financial strain, and who have experienced violence or rape in the past, and who are marginalized by society. As a result, a lot of the LGBTQ plus and black girls are at particular risk for sexual exploitation. Many stuck in the sex trade into adulthood. And I say this because I know that she was doing porn, but there is still abuse that comes with that. So just because she was doing, porn the legal way does not mean that she wasn't impacted negatively, psychologically speaking. So one study conducted in the U.S. found that 68% of people who sell sex reported symptoms of depression and 55% reported symptoms of anxiety. Another study in Canada found that they had higher rates of PTSD compared to the general population, with almost 1/3 of participants reporting symptoms consistent with PTSD diagnosis. Research also shows that selling sex involves such repetitive exposure to trauma that PTSD and CPTSD is more common for people who've lived through it than those who have lived through military combat. Do you hear that? Research shows that selling sex involves such repetitive exposure to trauma that PTSD and CPTSD are common for people who have lived through it than those who have lived through military combat. Over half of sex workers say that they suffer with PTSD from the line of work that they're in. I mean, it's just crazy that we have these numbers, but yet society says, oh, go open an OnlyFans. It's fine. It's the safest route. Like, no, it's still sex work, baby. You're still harming yourself. It's not healthy. And I'm sorry that you have people in your life who are lying to you, but I'm here to tell you that you are so much more than that. So much more than the person telling you to do it will ever be. So all of this is depressing, so I want to switch over to some funny stuff. But first, let me... Whoa, they weren't kidding when they said that Wednesdays are the worst days for filming. My numbers are low. It's okay. I'm glad y'all are here with me, but it is different. The different days, you see, like, your numbers higher certain days than other days. So it says, Florida Keys trip. Sorry, I already started. I ain't even started. Florida Keys trip. Y'all know how much I love the Florida Keys, right? If y'all don't, one of my favorite spots on earth. So the Florida Keys trip turns chaotic after a booze-filled bar brawl. First of all, let me show you these people, because once y'all see them, y'all going to be like, yep, I believe it. So this guy, and this, is that his mama? I was looking at them. They kind of look similar. That happens so much. Y'all know how many people date each other? So it looks like they're a couple from North Carolina. First of all, let me swing around. So it says, let me down. Kimberly Robbins and Charles Lambert, a couple from North Carolina, took a trip to the Florida Keys that went from bad to worse faster than you could say Crown Royal. They weren't there for a vacation either. They had some kind of meeting with a potential employer, but instead of making moves for the future, they ended up in handcuffs. According to the WPLG, the couple rolled up to the Coconuts Bar and Liquor Store early in the morning, which was already a telltale sign of bad choices to come. Kimberly then decided to kick off her day by knocking back a half a bottle of Crown Royal in just 5 minutes. 5 minutes before a job interview. That's not drinking. That's lighting up the bat signal of stupidity. I don't like Crown. Well, not the flavors. The flavors taste like syrup. Let's see here. Florida Keys do's and don'ts. Now you know what happened in the Florida Keys when someone starts slamming liquor like that. It sparked an argument between the two couples. They're about to have a quarrel. Apparently over her drinking. Who would have thunk it? At some point, Lambert reportedly got physical and hit her. So what does Kimberly do? She gets into their truck to get away, but takes it a little too far by driving it into the side of the bar. Oh my God. She crashed right into the spot where she bought booze. It's not even 8 a.m. yet. By the time the cops show up, the truck's airbags are deployed, the engine's still running, and Kimberly is in the driver's seat like an idiot. She stumbles out, reeking of booze. It literally says idiot. I'm not throwing that in there. I swear to God. She stumbles out, reeking of booze, slurring her words, and struggling to even stand up. Medics had to come through and check her out first, but once she was cleared, she had to take some sobriety tests. And let's be real, she failed all of those. But it didn't stop there. They took her to the Key West jail for a breathalyzer test, and that's when things really get sloppy. She spit in the face of a deputy, fell out of a chair, and then grabbed onto his legs like he was trying to leave the club without her. The deputy had to use some mechanical compliance to get her off of him. And guess what? Oh, and you can guess what that means. Now Kimberly is looking at some serious charges. She got felony battery on an officer resisting arrest, violence, and 2 DWI misdemeanors. Meanwhile, her husband Charles isn't off the hook either. He's facing a misdemeanor charge of battery for apparently hitting her, which is why she crashed the car into the bar. Both are sitting in jail, waiting for the day in court. And that Florida Keys job interview, let's just say it's probably not happening anymore. First of all, these people were from North Carolina. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the reason that they look so rough is because they are heavily involved in alcohol. For realsies. Speaking of which, Let's talking about drugs and alcohol. This is what drug users look like. This guy right here, we're going to talk about him. I mean, his shirt literally said, y'all, the irony. His shirt says, I'm out of my mind. Message something. I can't remember what it said, but it says, I'm out of my mind. Like, yeah, dude, we can tell. Not the red nose and red ears. That's a telltale sign of, like, drug use. Usually pills, sometimes methamphetamine. I've seen it in both. Let's just read what he did, because this is kind of crazy, too. First of all, I just got to say that I saw one article where he was arrested, like, a year or two ago, and then I saw another article where it said he was rearrested. So this is the rearrest article. He was already previously arrested for the same thing that I'm about to tell you about. So that's what's crazy. Hamilton, Ohio. A Hamilton man with a long history of public indecency convictions was arrested again for simulating sex with a pool noodle. Edwin Thoberga, 35, was arrested Wednesday morning after a witness observed him standing naked on Route 4 in Hamilton, simulating sex with a pink pool flotation device. The police report stated that he was in full view of nearby businesses and passing cars. He was charged with indecency and contempt of court. Now, he was just previously arrested in June of 2013 after he engaged in sex with a pool float outside of his house in front of several children. He pled guilty to that and was sentenced to 11 months in prison, but was released early. How about, when these assholes are doing this, how about y'all give them therapy while they're in prison? Why are these people... I know it's not going to reform them. For those that don't know, the only people that are unreformable are sex offenders. And he qualifies as a sex offender. The fact that he is out there simulating sex with a pool noodle tells me that he's a weirdo. And by the pictures, we can see he's clearly on drugs. So, you know, that methamphetamine is horrible, y'all. Stay away from that stuff. Like, all of it. But the fact that he is simulating sex with a toy, okay, out in the public with his neighbors' children watching him, God's sakes, that just, there's something mentally wrong with people like that. They are not wired correctly, and you cannot change that their brain operates. They will always behave like this, and they behave like this to get a reaction. Peeping Toms, flashers. There's been a whole group. That's a whole group in itself. Flash women and children. And they go out and they reveal their genitals to just people on the street. It's a whole thing. This part of my hair is aggravating me so bad. I'm just going to stick it back here because can y'all tell it's really like getting on my nerves? First of all, I usually wear the pin on the other side, but listen, if it looks good, half good, I'm just like, okay, as long as I don't have to put heat on it, we're fine. But, you know, when these perpetrators are committing these types of crimes, they need to be getting extensive mandatory therapy in prison. Something. Maybe nobody's ever told them about themselves. You ever thought about that? Maybe nobody has ever set them down and said, you can't be acting like this if you want to be free. I wish somebody would have sat me down at 18 and had these conversations with me. Everything I know is through my own accord. Seriously. It says in August of 2012, he was arrested for a similar offense, yet again, involving having sex with a pink swimming pool raft. This is a fetish for him. At this point, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. In 2002, he was caught having sex with an inflatable pumpkin that was part of a Halloween display. This is 4 offenses. And he has still not served anything but 11 months in prison and was released early. So y'all think that this problem, society, the police, the Department of Corrections, y'all think that this is just going to go away? You think they're going to do this again? He's already done it 4 times. And he's obviously methed out of his mind, deranged. Like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's meth, but it could be both. God. Imagine running up on him in the middle of the night. Ah, I got to go. I'm literally hauling ass the other way. So weird. What is wrong with people? Is that not weird? So I found this really interesting article. Y'all know how I'm always telling people y'all need to discipline your children, and it is your moral obligation to raise your children properly, and by properly I mean with actual morals and values. So apparently there was a mother in South Carolina, that is dead set on disciplining her children if they do wrong. And I love this. A 12-year-old South Carolina boy got an unexpected stocking for a pair of handcuffs after he snuck into his Christmas gifts a few weeks earlier. A mother discovered her son had unwrapped a Nintendo Game Boy Advance that she meant for him as a Christmas present from his grandmother. She called the Rock Hill police and had the young man arrested for petty larceny. Quote, he took it without permission, he wanted it, and so he took it. This is the boy's 63-year-old grandmother. The great-grandmother said in the filed complaint that she wrapped the gift and placed it under the tree at her house. Then she specifically told the boy not to open it. So she's 60-something years old, raising her grandson, it sounds like. And when she checked under the tree on a Sunday, she found the box unwrapped and open. The great-grandmother relayed. So the great-grandmother relayed the news to the mother, who was 27. So I was wrong. The mother is raising the boy. When the boy claimed he didn't know where the present was, the mother threatened to call the cops, and she did. The boy went into his bedroom and grabbed the $85 Game Boy, but the mom still called the police. And the boy showed no remorse when the cops got there. I'm sure he didn't. Because that's how they are nowadays. Not all of them. Not all. Just the ones that I come in contact with. They said he showed no remorse. The boy was charged as a juvenile and released the same day. We wouldn't hold a 12-year-old, said the sheriff to the Herald. On Monday night, the mother said that she didn't know what else to do but call the police in hopes that it would be a wake-up call for her son. The mother told police that the boy has a history of bad behavior, including shoplifting from stores, stealing money from her. The mother said he even punched a police officer last month and was arrested for disorderly conduct. 12. The mother said that she is trying to get him some kind of help. Typically, the Department of Social Services would skip in and say, let me help you with that. But, they're rather busy right now. So, I feel horrible for this mother. I commend her for doing the right thing and trying to, he's charged as a juvenile. The way that works, let me tell you, because I used to catch lots of juvenile charges. I spent 2 years in a training school. The way that it works is typically your defense. You will do a juvenile court. It's called teen court, and I don't know what it's called now, but they still have it. They usually give you community service. They might say that you have to graduate, so they may make it court mandated that you actually graduate. They can make all kinds of stuff. They can make all kinds of things mandatory for punishment, but these kids are not going to see a jail cell. They're not going to be held in prison or custody. Now, they can be sentenced to juvenile youth development camps and training school if the offense is super severe. So, like in my situation where the kid almost died, that's why I served 2 years in juvie, because it was a serious offense. So, it's by case, teen court works. And right on the same topic of teenagers, there was actually back in July a really horrible case that took place with 5 teens accused of robbing a homeless man. A group of teenagers have been arrested in New Orleans. Police claim that they targeted the homeless community in an armed robbery scheme. Now, this was July 7th at 2:35 a.m. That was very telling for me. What do I always tell you guys? Nothing good happens after dark. The only people that are out running the streets at 2:30 a.m. are people who do not have to work tomorrow, teenagers, and drug addicts. And drunk people. So I'm not going to say all these kids' names because they're the irrelevant part of this story. But I will say that 3 of them were 19 years old, and 2 of the unidentified teenagers, they're unidentified, sorry. So it says that according to the police department, these kids on the 400 block of St. Peter Street, when they approached 2 homeless men. Cops said the group approached the first victim and allegedly began to beat him in the head with a gun. This guy's homeless, probably trying to figure out how he's going to eat today or where he's going to sleep tonight, 2:30 in the freaking morning. And he gets approached by these somebody is smoking weed. Damn, I need some. Ugh. Please don't hit me. You're not going to be able to get out, babe. You're too close. It says, when they approached the second victim and allegedly took his backpack and bike before hitting him with a gun, throwing his belongings into the river and running away. So this homeless guy has 1 backpack, maybe a few clothes, maybe a toothbrush, God knows what. That's all he's got, and his bike. And these teenagers that have homes with parents attack these people, take his bike, throw his personal belongings in a river, ruining them. If it was electronics, if it was anything other than something washable. All teenagers were later found and were arrested the same day. The victim was taken to the hospital for treatment. And that's it. Don't you love that? That's it. That's the whole article. Because the guy's homeless. That's why. Hold on. 9 Oklahoma teens viciously beat down another homeless man while calling him racial slurs and streaming it on Instagram. Now, this just happened back in June. This is the country we're living in. These are the children that are out here, the next generation to run this country. Let me tell you. Let me find the pictures. So these were 2 of the teens that were arrested out of the 9. Now, let me remind you, the report says that they were calling the person that they were attacking racial slurs. A group of teenagers savagely beat a homeless man, streamed part of it on Instagram, and left him next to a dumpster with grave injuries. Surveillance video captured the attack on May 26 in South Oklahoma City at a 7-Eleven. The victim, Tillman Shannon, was standing near the station when a group of teenagers started to yell at him from their car. Surveillance footage caught the moment Shannon ran away, but the group chased him down and then began brutally beating him near a dumpster. Investigators said the video shows 9 people who were involved in the assault. An even more unsettling development has happened. Police learned that one of the teenagers, identified as 19-year-old Veronica, that little shit that I just showed you, live streamed the attack on her Instagram page for less than 2 minutes. She recorded the moments where she and her friends bragged that they were kids beating a man, and proceeded to call Shannon several racial slurs and expletives, including the N-word. But they're Mexican. They can say it. That word is never acceptable. Even the people that say it, it's not acceptable. It's not a nice word. We shouldn't be saying it. Nobody should say it, ever. It adds so much negativity to certain communities. It's disrespectful to yourself. So it says that Shannon, the homeless man, it says he reportedly suffered severe injuries in the attack, including one... I can't. Oh my God. These kids, these are the kids that need to go to training school for a few years, including one he sustained when a part of his intestinal tract was removed after the teens ripped out his colostomy bag. This is some of the oldest, most vile, cruelest thing that I mean, from children who are out running the streets at 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, they're 18, but they're still children. And even at 18, you should have parents in your life that are guiding you to do better than this. These are hellens, disrespectful little twerps. So the doctor said that he had pretty severe injuries and pretty significant trauma. As if he wasn't already living through trauma every day trying to survive homeless. All the cops are here. I have been here for a little while. An hour? Sorry. And after I get done with this, I'm still going to be on here because I got job stuff to do. So, sorry. Sue me. Like, there's no drive-through or anything, so. So it says that this girl and her accomplice were arrested. She charged with aggravated assault, battery, accessory to crime, and conspiracy to commit a felony. Awesome. Yeah, this type of behavior, you know, I say that I made all these changes, but the truth is that I was never a shitty person, even when I was catching charges. Let me remind you that my charges were called in the defense of a best friend. That fight was because I was defending someone. So, and, you know, yeah, it's completely different than going out here and ripping a homeless man's colostomy bag out. Like, I mean, that's just cold evil. People like that, they don't get better. They get worse. So the two that they locked up, it says that they were arrested, but only 2 is listed, and it says police also charged 3 minors in connection to the, I guess, there we go. And they're currently looking for the rest of the suspects. They know that it was 9 people that attacked these 2 men. 1 man specifically is the one that they hurt. I mean, to beat somebody's senses, I mean, to have part of your intestines removed because y'all, it's just, these are the type of people that need to be in jail for forever. Because your intent is vile. Your intent. You know what I mean? I've never had intent like this. Ever. I've never been this type of person. Ever. It's ridiculous. Disgusting. It's just heartbreaking. I'm praying for that man and his friend because so something that I ran along that's pretty interesting to me this morning is back in March, there was 4 boys. Let me pull their pictures up. These boys, well, get it up. These boys right here. Where's the other pictures? Oh, there we go. Oh, is it only 2 of them? It says, oh, it is. It's 2 of them. So these 2 teens, Jamar Kendricks, he faces 3 counts of robbery with a firearm, 3 counts of aggravated battery, 1 count of deprivation of 911. The arrest report stated Zachary Johnson was arrested on Thursday and faced the same charges according to the affidavit. A 3rd person was also identified. However, the suspect is a minor and will not be named. So this happened in Boynton Beach, Florida. 3 exotic dancers were robbed at gunpoint, and the suspects accused of the crimes are men that they were hanging out with, and the probable cause. The Boynton Beach Police Department, the BBPD, said officers responded to Ocean Park in reference to an armed robbery at 7:34 a.m. At the home, officers met with 3 women who told officers that they had just been robbed at gunpoint. The women told police that they were exotic dancers at the Hideaway Palm Beach on Old Okeechobee Road. Women met with 4 men at the night club when 2 men asked if they could return home with the women to their house to continue to party. So they met them at the strip club, and they said, we want to go party with you. And these dumb girls said, okay, come on. Listen, I'm not be funny, but I guess I am. I mean, you got to be pretty stupid. You got to be pretty stupid. One of the victims told detectives the men appeared young, roughly in their early 20s. The woman described, you don't even know their name. You can only give a description because you don't know who you're dealing with. That is one of the dumbest things that you can do, is to bring some random guy home from a freaking strip club to party with in your house where you live. So these girls gave a description of these guys. The woman told cops she was at home for roughly 2 hours. Women were preparing to leave. The police department said a man wearing a red jacket left the group. The probable cause affidavit states the man returning to the home and entered the shed where the group was staying wearing black masks and carrying pistols. The masked men started to push the women and strike the victims with their firearms. So, all of these girls were robbed. One of them tried to call 911, and the armed suspect snatched the phone from her hand. The suspects then took the car keys of the victims and grabbed all of the purses. So the suspects were identified through CC footage, through photo lineups. So Jamar Kendricks was arrested on December 26. He faces 3 counts. I read that to you guys. The Zachary guy. And then the minor that was wrapped up in this. Anytime I see these reports, I'm like, how does a minor just get out roaming in strip clubs and streets? You know what I mean? Yeah, you cannot trust people that, you don't... First of all, stay out of the clubs, but also if you're in the clubs, just know that people are stupid, and that, I think I have money, which is crazy, but they do. People are stupid, and they will try to rob you thinking that you have money, and you do not. So we're going to switch over to 9/11. So I was actually in middle school when 9/11 happened. I remember it very vividly. It's one of the hardest memories, of my childhood, as far as, incidents that happened, moments that happened in history. 9/11, my parents were already, they paid close attention to wars and the potential, of threat. Always. My parents were very cautious and overprotective, and, yeah. So when this happened, it was a big deal in my household. On the morning of September 11th, I'm sure most of you know this, but I'm going to read it for people who are in other countries. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, terrorists hijacked 4 passenger airliners, crashing into the World Trade Center towers in New York City, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. A total of 72 law enforcement officers perished on September 11th. And I thought it was more than that. Let me go look. I thought it was 400. I read somewhere else it was 400. And 3,000 people, almost. Listen to this. The FDNY added the names of 32 individuals who died from health issues stemming from the rescue and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center to its memorial wall, bringing the total number 334 members. That was just the first responders. And it was almost 3,000 people. And it says here, an estimated 400,000 people were exposed to toxic contaminants, risk of physical and emotional stressful conditions in these days, weeks, and months following the attack. You know, there's still people that are out here that this has impacted them so greatly, they've never been able to work or function again. In the 23 years since the towers fell, first responders and others have been diagnosed with cancer and other diseases from the toxic dust exposure at and near ground zero. I'm glad that they're still supporting the victims of this crime, because this terrorist attack, the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund, which Congress voted in 2019 to extend through 2092, provides federal compensation for those with illnesses related to the attack who were present at one of the 3 crash sites within a certain time frame. In 2023, it says the VCF said it had awarded $12.8 billion to over 56,000 people who had made claims since former President Obama signed the act reactivating the fund in 2011. Wow. So it says about 40% of New York 9/11 victims' remains have yet to be identified. This was posted last year. It says over 2 decades after the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center in New York, medical officials are still working to identify about 40% of the unnamed victims. I wonder why they waited so long. I guess dental records, finances, multiple reasons. Finances, records. I feel like I had a booger hanging out my nose. It says the 1,648th and the 1,649 victims came after decades of negative results from the office's DNA laboratory. The victims, whose names were withheld from the public at the request of the families, were the first identified since September of 21. A total of 59.9% of victims have now been identified. That's crazy. I did not know that. I mean, I guess I really didn't take into account that the bodies are probably so harmed that there wasn't anything to identify. You know what I mean? Yeah. After the attack of the first plane at the World Trade Center, law enforcement community and fire and EMS personnel rushed to the site to assist with rescue and recovery. Years later, illnesses linked to the exposure to toxic materials following the terrorist attacks has led to hundreds of deaths from 9/11 related illnesses. Unfortunately, this number continues to rise yearly. Here are most of, this is through, Remember 9/11. It's memorial. They're what does it say? National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, and it has a list of all of the officers that day. And these are just police officers. I don't want to forget, because, you know, we have people on the left that are trying to rewrite history, saying that thing didn't happen. I have people leaving comments about stupid stuff. You know, I lived through this time, and terrorist attacks were on the rise at the time. They had tried to bomb this building before, and it's just really sad. It says the 9/11 attacks were the deadliest on American soil since the attack at Pearl Harbor 60 years before. The attacks in New York occurred in the country's busiest city on the busiest workday. And the staggered nature of the attacks, the news footage captured almost everything as it was happening, ensuring millions of Americans saw the events precisely as they unfolded. I remember watching with my mother as people were jumping out of the buildings, y'all. It's one of the most fake things. That was the flight plan. American Airlines, United Airlines flight 90, United Airlines flight 175, American Airlines flight 11. Which one? Oh, that's the one that crashed in the field? Yeah. Or that's Washington, so that must be the one. Yeah, Pennsylvania. So sad. I just never wanted that, and every September 11th we're going to talk about it, because I'm never going to forget. I think people want to forget. I mean, once again, it reminds us of our country's failures, for sure. It points out our failures, because it should have never happened. So it says, I got another story of another illegal immigrant who was out here still harming children. An illegal immigrant arrested for the R word of a 10-year-old girl in Pontotoc town crossed the southern border 24 years ago and was deported at least once before. The 34-year-old Filiberto Gonzalez was detained on August 12th and charged with 2 counts of rape of a 10-year-old boy. Now, the cops told the press that this boy came here when he was 10 years old. And he was he was arrested previously on charges of domestic V, alcohol-related offenses, and contempt of court. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement deported him in 2016 after he was charged with in Oxford, Mississippi. After being deported, Gonzalez was able to enter the U.S. again and find his way back to Mississippi. Former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gillum told Magnolia Tribune that local authorities need to do a better job at communicating with federal law enforcement when it comes to these immigration issues. What do I tell y'all? That's why they want to completely dismantle the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, all of that. Project 2025 wants to fix this, because this should not be an issue 2024. But once again, a bunch of people in their jobs lacking an initiative that don't want to do their jobs. Let's see. The situation at the U.S. border has become a major flashpoint in 2024 race for presidency. According to they did a poll. 42% of Americans describe the situation at the border as a crisis, with 35% describing it as a major problem. In the wake of a record surge in immigration, 55% of Americans now express interest in reducing the number of immigrants coming to the U.S., the highest level since the 9/11 attacks. Are non-citizens really voting in U.S. elections? Let's talk about it. Let me redirect these cookies first. I don't want it. If I can't even come here and have an hour and a half on the phone in peace, imagine how it would be if I took on a full school load of classes right now. It was really hard last year taking the 2 classes that I took because of these issues with the internet. With illegal immigration at the top of the issues on voters' minds heading to the 2020 elections, Republicans are making a nationwide push to require proof of citizenship in order to vote. Once again, why do we not already have this? The GOP-run House of Representatives passed a bill that would do just that. The SAVE Act in July with support from 5 Democrats. Former President Donald Trump, and soon to be again, all repeatedly urged such measures, including... Yo, my nose is tickling the crap out of me. What is going on in there? It feels like something's whistling. It says, so Donald Trump has been pushing to make sure that people that are voting are actually citizens and have the legal right to vote. And Donald Trump also is alleging that his opponents are irresponsibly encouraging undocumented immigrants to vote. A lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote, and they can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically, and these people are trying to get them to vote. Now, that was straight from the horse's mouth. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson is saying that unless the House and the Senate agrees to the SAVE Act, and that's SAVE, he'll just shut down the government when the fiasco year ends in September, though it appears he lacks the support within his own party to do so. I did not understand that. But it's okay. No, I don't need the news about in Ukraine. I don't need the Ukrainian news. But Democrats, citing a lack of documented cases of non-citizen voting, say that the law is unnecessary since it's already illegal for non-citizens to vote. Moreover, they argue it would result in disqualifying eligible voters. They accuse Republicans, including former Donald Trump, of pushing the issue to groundwork for claiming the election was stolen if they lose in November. Let's see if this lying. The short answer is citizenship is required in federal elections, but proof of citizenship generally isn't, although some voters may provide that while establishing their identity. And residence, 16 municipals allow non-citizens to vote in local elections. So it says 16 different places allow non-citizens to vote in local elections, according blah, blah, blah. Amendments to bar non-citizen voting are on the ballot this fall in 8 states. Idaho, Iowa, Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Wisconsin. Only citizens are allowed to vote in federal elections. However, according to U.S. law, on the federal... Y'all, why do they write shit like this? Only citizens are allowed to vote in federal elections. On the federal voter registration form, which is accepted by all states except for New Hampshire, Wisconsin, prospective voters must check a box affirming under penalty of perjury that they are in the U.S., that they are a U.S. citizen, which, by the way, I registered to vote this morning. You can call the Department of Social Services and register to vote through them. I didn't know that. I called them to ask about something, and she was like, do you want to register to vote? And I was like, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I guess I was going to wait till the last damn minute. I don't know. I don't know how long you can wait. But I am going to vote. Let's see. The form does not require accompanying proof of citizenship, but warns applicants that anyone who provides false information may be... Yeah, but that's the thing. We've already caught them illegally vote. Like, we've already caught it. We have it on camera. Many voters demonstrate citizenship status when obtaining certain forms of identification, but state rules vary. Among those stricter rules, New Hampshire requires proof of citizenship to register and vote. Arizona requires proof of citizenship to register via the state's registration form. However, after numerous legal challenges to the 22 law requiring proof of citizenship, applicants using the federal form can vote in federal elections, but not in state and local elections without such proof. We need one clear-cut law across the board. Texas requires state court clerks to notify the Secretary of State of those excused or disqualified from jury duty for not being a U.S. citizen. If those people don't provide proof of citizenship within 30 days of being notified, their voter registration can be canceled. Georgia may cross-check voters' social security numbers against state databases. Even the Conservative Heritage Foundation, which maintains an extensive database of documented voter fraud, has identified several dozen prosecutions of non-citizens registering to vote or actually voting over the past 20 years. I don't know, you guys. So there was a example cited, a U.S. House oversight investigation into California's race 20 years ago, which brought to light evidence of 624 votes cast illegally by non-citizens. So it can happen. Alabama, hello, the state since 2023. So since 2023 has identified almost 3,200 non-citizens registered to vote. So there's people out here registering to vote, and they're not even legal to vote. Georgia had 1,600. Ohio has identified 138. Virginia removed 6,300 non-citizens from the state's voter rolls over the past 2 years. So they're signing up, they're registering. I mean, it's just crazy. And that's just the states that we have. In Texas, for example, more than 1 million people removed from voter rolls since 2021. Only 6,500 were potential non-citizens. Only 6,500 were potential non-citizens. And of those, only 1,900 had voted. I still don't understand how they would be able to do what they did, but I fully believe that it happened now. I fully believe it. And this is the U.S. Border Patrol criminal non-citizen statistics. We're going to talk about this before I go. So, this is like the crime rate and things, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So, assault and battery, you physically see these numbers going up, you guys. And let me tell you something. I will never believe this. This year, look at how all the numbers drop. But for the past year, since Biden's been in office, they were going up. So how do they just fall off like that when we actually know, when I'm here telling you about the news every day about the illegal immigrants breaking the law? Now this is through, you can go read this yourself if you want to. This is through the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And it has all the years, all these different crimes. And it is by non-citizens, so illegal immigrant. And these show the number of arrests. When we had Trump in office, for instance, I'm just going to use one as a guide. When Trump was in office, his last year, there was only 208 incidents of battery, DV, and assault, as far as like physical assault. But when Biden got into office, it peaked 1,100 the first year he's in office. So we went from 200 incidents to 1,100 the following year, and then 1,300 the following year almost. But all of a sudden on the election year, now it's only 900, which is still way higher than when Trump was in office. So you can go look at these numbers if you want to, but here's the actual, I just don't believe that last one, And it's because they're lying to us about everything. The jobs, the houses, the how many immigrants have come through this southern border, what they're going to do to fix the southern border. It's all lies. It's all lies. Before we go, I got to tell y'all this story that I found. There's a pizza man. Let's see. Let me just start it. A Domino's pizza delivery man forgot to bring 48-year-old, 346-pound Robert Wheeler the garlic knots along with his pizza that he ordered. So it responded exactly the way that you think a 346-pound person would react to not getting his food, by allegedly punching the Domino's guy in the face. Man's gotta love his garlic knots, god darn. The delivery man, John Foreign, told investigators that Wheeler struck him below the left eye after he rolled the window down of his vehicle. Foreign, 19, told the cops Wheeler punched him because he forgot the garlic knots. Y'all. Look at this. Like, you know, you have a problem when you're out here catching misdemeanors over garlic knots, but like, for real, where's this picture? I thought it was attached. Maybe it'll be his wake-up call. Where's he at? I swore I saw him. I don't know where he went. He didn't look happy. He looks like you would think he looks miserable. So he ended up going ill, where he could not have access to garlic knots and pizza anymore. And you got to love the image of a 346-pound behemoth waddling down the driveway and immediately punching a kid through a rolled down window as soon as he told the garlic knot back at the restaurant. He was charged with misdemeanor battery. This happened in Indiana. So messed up. He went straight to jail and he deserves it. It was a freaky story. Like, why is your eye black? Well, I was delivering pizza last night. Sounds about right. Apparently, their job's gotten 10 times worse. We should definitely do a Talk It Too about the deliveries, pizza and DoorDash and all of that nowadays, because it's not what it used to be. It's damn near impossible to make money in those industries anymore. They won't hire me anyways. Trust me, I've tried. I tried to get hired at a Pizza Hut over a year ago when I was living in my house. So I hope that lady calls me back with some goodness this afternoon. Like, I've been busting ass. I've got a lot to do right now, actually, so I'm going to run. But we'll talk later. We'll probably do like a get ready and get for bed with me. Get ready for bed with me. Get ready for bed. Yeah, y'all know what I mean. It didn't sound right. Yeah, so my hair is actually doing what it's supposed to do today on this side, but the other side is acting up now. I love you guys, and we'll talk soon. I hope y'all have a good afternoon. Be safe out there, and pray for me, because God knows I need it, and I'm praying for you guys. Bye, y'all.